Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very peculiar news, more so in regards to the PlayStation 6, and as well the fact that the PlayStation 5 Pro actually might not even be like kind of in the running for even being released in the first place. So we have some very interesting news when it comes to some insider news and some also even more just everything. We've been seeing so many leaks when it comes to the Slim, when it comes to the Pro, and now the PlayStation 6, to the point of where people are kind of confused and being like, well, what actually is going to be the next big step from these consoles? Now, as a reminder, we probably won't fully know until Sony themselves on a big conference or does even more major leaks, etc. But we have been seeing rumors of like a brand new reiteration of the PlayStation 5, which some folks are also coldly naming as the PlayStation 5 Slim, basically as they are slimming down the console, removing the disk drive, etc. But right now, it seems like there's a lot more talk in the PlayStation 6 being in the works rather than a PlayStation 5 Pro. So we're kind of all over the place too, and this is kind of like almost the fun of it slash kind of annoyance of this is that we get little bits and pieces from different people. We almost have to go and do like a, I don't know, like an investigation to figure out exactly what is coming out. So we're going to talk about all the brand new PlayStation 6 news because that is kind of lighting up the media storm. As well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, check out the Twitter and Twitch stream down below and follow those on up for more gaming news. We have the Target news, we have the Amazon links down below and all that good stuff. And let's dive into the video itself. So, as we mentioned, we even saw kind of a weird article yesterday talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro, where some folks were even assuming it might even be coming out as early as April, which, once again, I'm not fully convinced on, but we're now seeing even more inside quotes talking about more of a PlayStation 6, which, once again, if we kind of saw on how long the PlayStation 4 has been around, it's kind of weird to even see this because the PlayStation 4 is still currently in the life cycle. It's almost like jumping two different things. So let's go talk about this brand new news. Let me go make sure my audio is good on that too as well. So for this, now we're seeing even more sources apparently going and claiming that they have actually heard more about a future upcoming PlayStation 6 rather than even the PlayStation 5 Pro as well. So Leaker gets more information about the PlayStation 6 and a potential PlayStation 5 Pro, suggesting that the mid-generation refresh might not even be coming. Now, once again, this is all kind of depending on where, when, what, and how, and and by honest opinion based in the gaming industry, we probably will both see a PlayStation 5 Slim and PlayStation 5 Pro. It just makes sense. It's like the mid-generation bump, and the PlayStation 6 might be coming, but dude, I'd be expecting like 2030 or something like that, and maybe a little sooner, but either way. So, according to sources now, there is virtually almost no word about a potential Pro-tier hardware, so PlayStation 5 Pro, refresh for Sony's PlayStation 5, and instead there's more talk about the PlayStation 6 console. It's no secret that the previous year's silicone shortage led to a slower adoption rates of current-gen gaming hardware, with cross-gen games still released being commonplace even 2 years after the launch of the PlayStation 5. So I've been mentioning this a lot when it comes to my videos, because we've obviously watched a lot of the restocks. It does seem like a lot of the time, it took like 3 years, around the third year, to go and, well, get even the console up to date. It doesn't seem good. It took a very long time. And that's why some folks are maybe skeptical on a PS5 Pro, at least being so soon, because it just would take so long. There's still millions upon tens of millions of folks who still need their consoles, and even not just in America, but think places like in Europe or Asia and all these other regions where they are still selling consoles, just not as much. So it's intriguing because it does kind of seem like the PS5 Pro would almost be hard. It'd almost be like a hindrance. It's kind of like the Switch, where the Switch is somehow still selling like hotcakes, and a lot of folks want the Switch Pro, but no one really wants to make it. Like, Nintendo doesn't really want to make it, because then that knows that they're going to lose that gravy train of the current Switch, and some folks might be upset, or either way. So there have been rumors that Sony might be working on some sort of update for the PS5, which has obviously been floating around, of course, but these are yet to materialize in an official capacity from Sony. More specifically, some sources claim that this rumored production update wouldn't include meaningful hardware upgrades at all, but instead just be a brand new SKU, which basically we have actually 3 different PlayStation integrations right now, like a 1, 2, 3. So this would basically be a integration number 4 that would effectively replace the first generation of PlayStation 5 consoles in stores. So they might just even want to either have a pure, like, brand new console. Like, in theory, it's the same thing, but in theory also as well a brand new console, if that makes sense. So for this one, leaker Tom Henderson has also spoken at some length about the purported PlayStation 5 with the detachable drive, which would basically be the new console. And the latest information he's been privy to seems to underline these claims. So we're going to talk about this pretty heavily now for the PS6. Specifically, Henderson said that he's heard more about the PlayStation 6 than the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is also more intriguing because if there was a PlayStation 6, I'd probably imagine it'd be many, many years down the road. Like we're talking like at least 4, 5, 6, depending. I mean, I know hardware nowadays is updating a lot quicker, especially if you use like, PC-wise itself. But I would say it would probably still take a while. Like that's why the Pro always exists, because it's right in the middle. So basically he says that he doesn't believe that will even be a Pro version of the PlayStation 5 at all. As in like it's just not there. He feels that the new PS5 console will just simply be a second generation of the base hardware to reduce basically Sony's production and shipping costs by a measurable margin. Now, we've mentioned this before, and I have that same exact take. Like if you have a less weighted console, that basically means it costs less to ship. If you have to not necessarily worry about this drive, that means that both of the consoles you're making, so the digital and disc that are both combined, are now basically be able to double production. So it's not like you have to pick either or. Because some folks have been waiting specifically for digitals, and those got sold out a lot quicker. Maybe they just never assumed that demand was that could be that high, or maybe they make more money on the disc edition, which I do believe they do. So that one maybe makes sense. So they say Sony wouldn't cease production of a Gen 1 PS5 if they had different consoles in production for different price points and specs. The new PS5 will reduce costs in production and shipping because they could just produce one console with that also separately sold detachable disk drive. So they're also making the extra margins too on the disk drive, and they could resell that. As for if there's going to be a Pro version this generation, I'm not entirely sure. And I kind of feel like I'm kind of 50-50. I really think we want to see this Slim or this next generation, like basically PS5 4.0 first and foremost, and then we can kind of go and assume, because if they're doing really big hardware revisions for like the outside of the console, that'll probably be the last major change they do, at least for some time. They say it doesn't feel like the regular version has been fully utilized yet, which is once again what I've been saying, because like we're still seeing people utilizing the PS4 for all these various other games. So what's the whole point of having a PS5 Pro or PS6 when we haven't even utilized the PS5 yet? Like we've only had a few different games, and while they have run well and they've done good, well, at the end of the day, like, bro, no one's really using it. Like we're not seeing the PS5 lagging yet, kind of how it was in the Switch when it first launched. That's how it is. So they say they probably won't be en masse until the end of the year. All I can say is I've heard more about the PS6 than a PS5 Pro. So once again, we're getting even more supporting off, like basically stuff over here, that the PS6 seems like it's more in development, putting more resources focused into it. And if there was a PS5 Pro coming sooner rather than later, which I still think there will be one coming, I still think it'd probably be a Slim to a Pro, then a PS6 if we had to kind of go through that order. It just makes sense logically. But it does seem like we would be hearing a lot more leaks and rumors and conversation about what potentially might be in a Pro, because it would be coming the next 2 to 3 years regardless, unless they're trying to keep everything very, very under wraps until it can start leaking more and having other folks being involved in that in the first place. The alleged second generation, though, the PS5, which would be like that 4.0 console, would effectively replace the currently available PS5s in most ways. So they would just stop selling like the 1, 2, 3s, which they've kind of already done. I think we've only seen 2 upwards as of now. It's not really that much of a big change regardless. And Sony would only need to maintain a single production SKU, which would also be easier. It's kind of like the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. Like if you focus on just one, you could probably make way more. And also, since the disc drive would be available only as an optional accessory, that means if you still want to be a proper disc gamer, like how most folks are, they buy their games physically or rent them or whatever, then they have that option. So according to Henderson, 2020's PS5 and PS5 digital version will no longer be produced after this new SKU hits the stores, which we believe was going to happen in September as well, which a lot of these kind of deadlines are kind of making sense. Now that the PlayStation 5 console shortages are over, which I'd probably say they are pretty much almost done, some retailers are still selling out, but it's been mostly up in stock. It doesn't sound strange that Sony would be looking at ways to optimize its production capabilities however it can. Also, the notion is that the base PS5 isn't yet being used, so the max sense also makes sense too as well. And that's kind of, I think, just an obvious take, is that we just haven't had a chance to fully go and just have all these pure PS5 exclusives, which I think are now finally going to probably happen in 2023. Think Spider-Man, think of the other ongoing games. So even games like Forspoken 2 as well. So as for Henderson mentioned the PS5 6, specifically, it doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own as well. And a lot of these major big game companies would be targeting the PS6 launch as of this second. So it kind of seems like these new upchanging for these consoles. Kind of seems like the PS6 is more focused, PS5 is a little bit less leaked as of now, and we're still expecting this next iteration of consoles coming soon. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below to follow, and of course the Target, Amazon, and HOW links down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.